Friday, as J.D. Vance boarded a plane to Pakistan for peace talks with Iran, Donald Trump posted 4 words on Truth Social: world's most powerful reset. The media ignored it. They had no idea what he meant. Was he talking about Iran? Was it some coded threat? I know what it meant, and by the end of this video, you will too. We've all been flooded with propaganda by Trump's enemies, domestic and foreign. Most people think he's just throwing grenades, tariffs, trade wars, threats of military force with no plan behind any of it. I'm telling you, they're dead wrong. What you're watching is a deliberate strategic reset of the entire world order. Not the great reset that King Charles, Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and Joe Biden announced during COVID. They told you energy had to be rationed and world government imposed, or we would all die from the climate apocalypse or the next pandemic. Trump's reset goes entirely in the opposite direction. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've tracked the imperial great game for decades. I've lived through managed decline. I've studied the American system of economics, which Trump has resurrected. And I know it will produce a new and completely different world. Here's what I'm covering today. First, what was the Great Reset before Trump? Next, what is the world's most powerful reset? And finally, how does Artemis II fit into all of this? Let's dig in. But first, like and share this video now. It increases our reach on YouTube and tells YouTube to increase our audience. Let's start with the old Great Reset, because you need to understand what Trump is dismantling before you can understand what he's building. The World Economic Forum's Great Reset wasn't a conspiracy theory. Klaus Schwab said it out loud in public in June of 2020. COVID, he declared, was a narrow window of opportunity to remake capitalism.
For the post-corona era, we have a choice: to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today: polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset. We have to mobilize all constituents of our global society to work together. We must not miss this unique window of opportunity.
Did you hear that? COVID was an opportunity. Earlier in the speech, you said that COVID had shown a lack of social cohesion caused by nationalists and racists. In other words, those who are refusing to comply with insane lockdown mandates. I don't know about you, but that speech still stands my hair on end. Under the Great Reset, energy had to be rationed and controlled. Carbon had to be taxed and strangled. Every sovereign nation was supposed to surrender to globalist institutions who no one elected. Prince Charles, now the king, joined Schwab in announcing the Great Reset. Current Canadian Prime Minister and Trump hater Mark Carney was moved from the Bank of England to UN climate czar. He created a net zero carbon finance regime, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, controlling an estimated $130 trillion in assets and aiming to police and control all global credit. Who profited from this? Well, the City of London's banks and insurers did. An independent academic study from the University of Manchester confirms this. Green finance became British industrial policy, run through what the author calls the City Bank Treasury Nexus, designed to preserve the City of London's financial dominance, not save the planet. Main Street America, workers, manufacturers, small businesses, farmers, all get strangled when energy prices surge or when the supply is unreliable. For 4 years under Biden, it was the policy, the pipeline shutdowns, the drilling restrictions, the war on American natural gas, the record inflation, the loss of energy independence. All of it flowed from that great reset blueprint. Trump's energy reset is a mirror image. Drill, build, export. Let American energy flood the world market, drive down prices, and make every nation that wants cheap power an American partner rather than a hostage of the global establishment. But that means free and open use of places like the Strait of Hormuz, without constant threats of terrorist disruption and the resulting artificial price hikes from London's commodities markets. Which brings us to today. Were Venezuela and now Iran only about corrupt terrorist regimes, or is something much more fundamental going on, like rewiring the entire global financial system to accommodate Trump's American economic renaissance? Is that what Trump is talking about when he writes world's most powerful reset? I'm about to tell you about that. But if you're beginning to suspect Trump is up to something nobody else is talking about, that's exactly why Promethean Action exists. I've been watching the fight between empire and sovereign nation states since the 1970s, which is the real battlefield we're now on. If you want to find out more, take a minute and subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com. Now, James Thorne is the chief market strategist at Wellington Altus, one of Canada's largest private wealth firms. In his April briefing, he said that Trump's moves in Venezuela and Iran have a motive nobody is talking about: re-anchoring global energy and money in the dollar system for the next 50 years. He calls it Bretton Woods 2.0. He's right about Trump's motives, but he's wrong when he says Trump's model is the petrodollar looting system created by Wall Street and the City of London in 1971. And he's wrong when he says Trump is playing a new great game, the operating system for the British Empire. Trump is using the American system of Hamilton, Lincoln, and McKinley based on constant scientific and technological progress. Thorne says China's exploitation of Iran and Venezuela's black market in sanctioned oil gave China an unfair economic advantage. He also notes that China's investments in Iran's energy and defense infrastructure and in the Middle East and Latin America generally challenged U.S. interests. Iran is an anchor in China's Belt and Road revolution of global transportation. The bridges and infrastructure Trump is threatening to embalm include significant Chinese capital investments. All of that is true. But Trump is not out to destroy China or go to war with it. And China's investments include billions in Gulf nations and Israel, allies of the United States, attacked by Iran. Venezuela wasn't just about oil, it was about knocking out a key financial and logistics center for the drug trade. And here's Trump late yesterday talking about Iran.
What would a good deal look like for you?
No nuclear weapon, number one. You know, I think it's already been regime change, but we never had that as a criteria. No nuclear weapon. That's 99% of it.
Strait of Hormuz as well?
Yeah, but that'll open up automatically. The answer is yes, but the Strait will open up. If we just left, the Strait's going to, otherwise they make no money. So the Strait's going to open, but what we have is no nuclear weapon, but we'll open the Strait anyway. Don't forget, we don't use the Strait. Other countries use the Strait. So we do have other countries coming up, and they'll help out, but we don't use it. It won't be easy. It won't be, I would say this, we will have that open fairly soon.
And here is what Trump's national defense strategy says about China. The Indo-Pacific will soon make up more than half of the global economy. The American people's security, freedom, and prosperity are therefore directly linked to our ability to trade and engage from a position of strength in the Indo-Pacific. Were China, or anyone else for that matter, to dominate this broad and crucial region, it would be able to effectively veto Americans' access to the world center of economic gravity, with enduring implications for our nation's prospects, and I'm underlining this, including our ability to reindustrialize. A favorable balance of power in the Indo-Pacific is not for purposes of dominating, humiliating, or strangling China. It is simply to ensure that neither China nor anyone else can dominate us or our allies. This does not require regime change or some other existential struggle. In other words, two different civilizations in a race to define the future for the next 50 years. A race, not a war. Not just that, look who's involved now in the Iran talks. Pakistan, China, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. All of them are members of Trump's Board of Peace with the exception of China, set up to permanently end the Middle East conflict and drive economic development. This morning, Donald Trump put an exclamation point on that. He posted that a massive number of empty oil tankers were headed to the U.S. to fill up on oil and gas. That was a message about huge economic loss to the Iranian delegation in Islamabad, losses which will continue if they don't negotiate. NATO, the Praetorian Guard of the Great Reset of Klaus Schwab, King Charles, and the City of London, Trump says they're done, over with in one way or another. And last night, the future for humanity dawned boldly when Artemis II splashed down in the Pacific. Now, last night I watched, and I hope you watched in wonder, as our Artemis II came back safe and sound after an almost flawless mission. So did millions of other people. 18 million watched the launch, and that many or more were anticipated to watch the splashdown. President Trump congratulated the crew and pointed the mission immediately to Mars. The transit point will be a moon colony powered by nuclear reactors. The president's science advisor, Michael Kratsios, posted this video to his X account on Thursday.
Today, the same spirit beckons us to begin new journeys of exploration and discovery, to lift our eyes all the way up to the heavens and once again imagine the possibilities waiting in those big, beautiful stars, if we dare to dream big.
Dream big, think big. That used to be what Americans did, how we thought about transforming reality for the better, the more perfect. The Apollo missions and the inventions they created transformed our economy and advanced our standard of living. Compare that with the absurd world of the old Great Reset, the world which says there are too many people, fixed resources, and we need central bankers to tame our dreams. All of this, I think, is what the president was thinking when he wrote World's Most Powerful Reset. The world's most powerful reset: energy, money, space, a moon colony on the way to Mars, the Strait of Hormuz secured, China and Russia brought in from the cold. NATO's Praetorian Guard of the old order finished. The people who told you that you would own nothing and be happy are watching their system dissolve. Klaus Schwab is gone from the WEF. Mark Carney's $130 trillion net zero regime has collapsed. The City of London is no longer writing the rules. Americans are doing what Americans do when nobody is strangling their dreams. They're building, they're launching. Most of us at Promethean Action have been in this fight since the 1970s, long before it became visible to everyone else. We have a big job ahead. We're securing the midterms so this great reset can continue. We need your help in this. Subscribe to Promethean Action's free newsletter and get yourself on the same page as the president. If you're all ready to get active, become a supporting member by contributing more. This has been your Saturday Wrap. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com.